Yo, what's going on, y'all? This is the Rising Rush podcast. Appreciate y'all being here and enjoy the show.
All right, welcome to the Rising Rush podcast, where we talk everything Dragon Ball Legends related, such as news, meta, hot takes, you name it. I'm your host, A-Town, alongside our co-hosts, Opsto, Desla, and Glow. And we're going to kick things off with the news and updates for this weekly reset that went live as of the 30th of October. First thing first, we've got the Ultra Rising Mark of the Majin, featuring the Ultra Majin Vegeta. Finally, we got an actual decent Vegeta. That's going to be going through the 14th of November. So if you main that tag, or if you're a Vegeta Clan main out there, go ahead and summon. We've also got the monthly CC sales that have also refreshed, and also like a step up CC sale. Definitely cop those if you're saving for Legends Fest. We got the Majin Buu Saga campaign continuing, adding additional raids. We got a second raid boss that's available as well. Daima just released their episode today, so if you log in today, you'll be able to get your free gift. We've also got some exciting bonuses, such as the mini raid, the second version of that'll be available the November 3rd through the November 4th, so definitely take advantage of those rewards there. We've got the Take On Challenge Battle Majin Buu Saga. That's going to be live through the 13th of November. We've got a new Yellow Vegeta Clan Plat. Are we hinting a Zenkai Angel Vegeta? Maybe, maybe not. Hard to tell. We've also got a Super Gold Rush event that's going on through the 8th of November. So go ahead and collect that Zenny. Legends ranking has also reset, so be able to collect the rewards on that if you were playing. And then also the Adventures reset, which is the Autumn Adventures that's currently live through the month. So go ahead and do your adventures, collect those leaves and materials. And then we've also got the PvP reset, which is themed Pride on the Line, Duel to the Death, featuring, Majin Vegeta fight against the Super Saiyan 2 Goku. That's going through the 21st of November, which is 3 weeks of the PvP season. So strap in and get ready for that. But before we get into the actual new unit itself, we got to talk about the elephant in the room, because, since this Majin Vegeta dropped, we've also got the Triku that dropped as well. Where is UG4? I'm starting to see a little bit less of him in PvP, as if GT teams got worse because of these new yellows going into play, or what. I've also noticed some tier lists that are going out today where a lot of the units you typically see, like Omega, is not either being on it, or they're just ranked super low. So we'll start off with you, Glow. What do you think is going on with GT? Are they bad now?
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I think GT gets slightly worse because essentially Super 17 can't hang with units like Turles or the Brew Bros, and now
Mm-hmm.
SV getting a bit more play. Omega is becoming a indestructible merchant. UG4 already had a rough time existing, where if a Triku landed a combo on him, you're only getting like that gauge off once
Mm-hmm.
because Triku just screwed over your healing. And now with Majin Vegeta, like, you're cooked.
Yeah, I can see that. And let's just, put the elephant out there as well. Like, I'm not saying UG4 is a bad unit. Like, he's still great. He's still a destructive unit, last man standing. But his overall team that requires him to be supported with, like, he's not going to be able to carry the fight like he once was back then. And also with
I
him.
mean, if we wanna have an honest conversation, I saw Clintry, shout out Clintry on Twitter and YouTube. Great guy, great content creator. He said something that I thought about for like a split second, and I kind of low key realized he's right. He
Mm,
said that UG4 is going through the same fall off UVB did, but he's getting hit way harder. And he's low key not wrong if you really think about it. He's going through it took a specific unit to drop that the whole meta ended up revolving around. That was a
mm-hmm.
specific counter to him. But at the same time, before this unit came out, another unit came that threatened him. Same way Nameku did to UVB, same way Triku did to UG4. The unit that's kind of meant to go after him, but doesn't fully kill him off. But the second one that came essentially screws him over. That's essentially what they did.
Yeah.
But they were harder on UG4 because Nameku barely affected UVB. Triku actually put a dent into UG4.
And then now we've got this Ultra Majin Vegeta, which pretty much just says don't show your face, because he's gonna get 2 to 3 card if his gauge isn't procced from what it looks like. But I mean, I gotta hear Desla on this because you used to be a GT main, right? How do you feel about GT? Is it sad to hear that GT has fallen off the pedestal? We literally had a year of GT.
I mean, we've already been over this for the last episode that this has just been, the Majin Buu year in disguise. So it's not as though I'm really all that surprised, if we're gonna be real. But as far as where I feel about them placement wise, I do think that they're not in the greatest of spots at the moment. Obviously, given the fact that we have all these new meta shifts that really just do not do well with, I guess, playing off of how Gogeta wants to do his own thing. Since not only is there a literal direct counter to him with Triku out there, you
Mm-hmm.
also have Majin Vegeta who just I mean, it's the nail in the coffin practically. That the fact that he's able to be argued lower top 10, even with those two problems running amok with him and Q, is impressive to say the least. But I do think that unless we get some uber dominant Reds, hopefully for Fest, then the fall off from top 10 is coming, and it's coming quick. So we'll have to see what they do. But I think that the best move going forward, if you are in fact the GT main, is probably to go with a Rage Super 17 Omega comp pretty much, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is a lot safer than just having Gogeta on there because, again, Gogeta is not really needed, if we're going to be honest, because there isn't some kind of like uber juiced up green to, take down the throne from or whatever. It's a matter of where, you have to kind of fill a need pretty much with a unit that you're going to try and justify using. And again, they're just the greens available right now are good, but none of them are like run the game good, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So I do hope that we get a cracked red and a cracked green for Fest because we're in dire need. But yeah.
And I think that's exactly what's going to happen because like those two colors haven't really seen that meta shifting unit come out yet. So whichever tag they choose to buff, please don't let it be movies. It's gonna definitely make that shift. But what about you, Opsto? Do you also see less of GT as well, or do you think that the placement that a lot of the community members have of UG4 is warranted, or should he be higher?
UG4 is hanging on for dear life on that top 10 list.
Mm,
On no matter what list he's on, if he's in like the lower tens, then he is hanging on for dear life, and there's no saving him. And like
yeah.
Desla was mentioning, you don't really need him. Like there's no like really big greens you have to worry about right now.
That is true. And like, what's the latest green that we got? Like,
Like
besides,
Omega.
yeah, Omega. And Glow made a really good point. He's turning into, which is what I believe, where he was the whole time, which is an indestructible merchant. I mean, yeah, he has some good disrupt, but now we're getting more units that either negate that, and then also units that like stop health restoration completely. Like
Yeah.
his heals, he's not healing, and his disruption is not disrupting. So we're gonna need another unit that does a little bit more than that, that keeps GT in the top running. Because I mean, we're seeing something similar to what the Goku Bardock did, which people were glorifying his indestructible when it first came out, but then people learn how to play around the indestructible, and now they're not even being used anymore until they get their unique equip, which is supposed to be dropping at some point really soon. But speaking of this Ultra Majin Vegeta, let's go ahead and break down its kit now. So I gotta ask, has anyone got lucky to obtain him? Because I went 3 rotations in. Unfortunately, didn't see him. I plan to go in maybe like one more time before his banner goes away, but I can't invest too much since Legends Fest is like right around the corner. But has anyone got him?
No, I'm
Nope.
not summoning that. I love Majin Buu Saga, but my brother, it's about to be Fest.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like, should you summon? Like, should you not? Is he going to be a good investment? Will he last past Fest? Like, I'm going to say probably not. But again, we'll just have to see. But just pulling up his kit overall, his stats, they're not bad. Like, 270 around or higher strike, high blast, what is about 3K difference. The defenses are a little lower than what we typically see from a Ultra unit. But overall, his kit, I like the fact that his strike card does heavy bleed at 100%. It's kind of weird that none of the animations show as if he's cutting the opponent. So I don't know what the process or the thought process was of like giving him heavy bleed. And then also, having an AoE green card is also nice. But Glow, let's start off with you. What is your experience of fighting this unit? Do you think that this unit is as meta shifting as everybody says he is?
Yeah, honestly, I think he's number one. One of our co-hosts thinks different. He'll explain later, but I think the meta now revolves around: can your team survive Majin Vegeta? If yes, you're good. If not, you're cooked, and that's really it.
And I can see that. But like with his team comps overall, like you can be put on Saiyans, he could be put on Majin, Busaga. And looking at Majin Busaga, aren't there units filled with like a bunch of double defense units?
Yeah, so if I think his best teams are either one, you run him on what's basically Pito slash movies, you leader him, you run Turles, and then you choose whoever you want to be as your third, and you're good.
Mm,
Or you run him on Majin Buu Saga, which I think his best setup on Majin Buu Saga is him, Evil Buu, and Gotenks.
okay. I can definitely see that. And with Gotenks being where he is, I would think like maybe fusions have that red to kind of deal with Majin Vegeta. But like how is his tanking against like color disadvantage? Is he surviving or is he just getting shredded?
I mean, because he's an ultra and he's on boost, he survives reasonably so, even without a Zenkai buff. But because the biggest thing is that he heals his gauge and all his other stuff lets him heal. So at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, that's really what's going to help him with his survivability.
Yeah. But like he also does a lot of damage too. Like for one, we finally got a Majin Buu Saga unit that's not double defense. He's strike attack and strike defense. So shout out to the developers finally fixing that issue. And then the fact that he gets the additional abilities if his unique gauge is full seems very interesting as well.
Yeah, yeah. His damage, I think, is nothing obviously to scoff at, and just the aspect of him being able to lock in units, get like three free blues, and
Mm-hmm.
all that. That's ridiculous, man.
For sure. And then on top of that, with his ultimate being able to nullify endurance for 20 counts versus just on activation. So, like, if he somehow missed the ultimate, which can destroy your bench or the
Hmm.
opponent's bench, he can go ahead and rush right after that, or, within the 20 counts and still be able to kill all those pesky endurance units, such as, like, Ultra Gohan. And, now we have the new Go tanks. And Gaku, if you run them, I know there's a small group of individuals who still cling to Gaku, like myself. But I mean, I don't know. For overall, like I personally have him at number two. But again, we'll talk more about the list as we go through it. I think he's a pretty solid unit to do a healthy shift to the meta. Let's start off with you, Op. So, what do you think of fighting against this Ultra Majin Vegeta? Do you think he deserves that top spot?
I do not think he deserves that top spot.
Ooh.
He's either two or three, maybe four if I'm being daring, but I don't really think that. But the thing about Majin Vegeta is that to me, there's nothing that he's doing that really screams, "Oh my God, this is a god tier mechanic."
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing about him to me where he kind of just feels like just a modern UGB, but that's it. He's doing nothing to differentiate himself. Whereas, like, the thing about him versus UGB is that we learned with UGB, who was the first of his kind to have, like, a counter gauge that gives you a card upon, like, countering,
Mm-hmm.
where we learned how to deal with it, and how to deal with it is to just do it. You just proc it. We didn't know that when UGB first came out, which really helped him in his long run. But another thing about him, between him and UGB, is that his gauge, when you get his gauge, Majin Vegeta's, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't destroy strikes or greens or anything, where he only destroys strikes if you get him below a certain HP threshold. Whereas with UGB, as soon as you get his gauge, all of your strikes are gone and you're forced to use that blast. Whereas with Majin Vegeta, his gauge will happen and you'll still have strikes and you can keep comboing. And when you can't combo anymore, chances are your units are back, so you can switch into someone who's going to tank the blue card better, so you can just switch in and use the blast with them.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
But it like, there's nothing about him that to me is going to give him actual longevity. Whereas you have powerhouses in the meta like Turles, like Ultan, like a Triku, who have a lot of mechanics that are going to make them last a very long time. Like for Turles, for example, In 10 years' time, if this game is still going on, and he still hasn't gotten a plat, if he still hasn't even gotten a Zenkai by then, if you're the last man standing, and he gets his comeback off, there's no coming back. You're still losing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's going to power creep that gauge, where there's going to be a million things that's going to power creep Majin Vegeta. I wanted Vegeta to be better. I'm not a Vegeta fan, per se, but I felt bad for fans of Vegeta who just kept getting shafted over and over. And I was happy for them to actually get an actual decent unit, but I don't see this decent unit lasting another month, if then.
Dang. So it sounds like the Vegeta curse is still continuing. Like at first glance and seeing him, being ran in some showcases, it sounds like he's doing a lot of good things. It's just like the things that he is doing is not oppressive enough that's going to age like fine wine.
Yes, exactly. Like the things that make him good right now, like having an AoE green, like being able to combo for a while, like having that lock-in like gauge. These are all things that we've dealt with before.
Hmm. So do
I
you
mean,
think?
at the same time, we've dealt with comboing units before.
Yes,
We've
yeah.
dealt with lock-in units
I mean,
before.
like
Like,
units like with an AoE green, like units with a counter gauge, especially. We know how to deal with them. There's nothing about him that really screams, "Oh my
well,
God,
but
I'm
here's
gonna
the thing.
last
Let me
this
ask you
year."
this. But let me ask you this. What has been introduced that we don't know how to deal with?
They can make up quite literally anything.
Yeah, they do that, and then we cry about it and say the game's dead. Dokkan better, even though it's basically JPEG Candy Crush. Like, come on now. Like, mind you, I like Dokkan. I hate Dokkan fans. I hate 99% of y'all.
Now, like the thing I mean about it is that like when UGB first came out, of course we didn't really know how to deal with the gauge, but then a month went by or 2 months, and then we learned to just deal with it. Of course, back then UGB ushered in like a completely new level of power creep, but
Yeah.
then again, Majin Vegeta is not going to do that. There are plenty of units out right now that can just perfectly deal with that gauge and just go about their day fine.
But we at the same time, we've also seen units that took like let's use Beast for example. Take your Vanish on command. We had units like that. Was Beast still a problem whooping people's ass? Yes.
Yeah.
Like
Well, yeah, because Beast was an entire other level of being really, really good. Like Beast. Are you talking about the red one or blue one?
red one.
Yeah, like back then, Beast was probably the best unit in the game from what I remember. Beast
Yeah,
had
but
a very, very, very good design, and you can even still use him today. Albeit he's not going to be like fantastic, but he's
he
still
needs a
going to be
double Zenkai
usable.
buff to even use him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's still usable. He was designed in a way that gave him some sort of longevity. Like him transforming and removing the enemy's vanish. That's not going to be power crept.
Yeah, I think the thing is,
Everything in Vegeta's kit is going to be power crept.
I don't agree with it per se because I think, and I hate that I'm having any sort of faith in the devs right now, but I think people are looking at Vegeta from the lens of a Saiyan and a Majin Buu Saga unit. I'm looking at him through the lens of a Vegeta clan unit. I think what he is supposed to be, and this is maybe me being optimistic, he is supposed to be a foundation for Vegeta Clan. First, I was like, when I saw his kit, like when we were showing it, I was like, okay, whatever. He's just gonna be a random Vegeta Clan unit that just works on another team. Then I see he has endurance and buff removals. I'm like, hold on now. Maybe this is how they kind of help Vegeta Clan.
Yeah,
And at least,
we're gonna start to get more units that just have uncancelable endurance.
yeah. And I'm thinking what he is supposed to be is we're going to
No,
get
I
more
mean,
units.
I'm sorry, I mean uncancelable endurance. No.
Yeah. And I think he's going to have essentially, he's going to have that. I think what we're going to see is Vegeta Clan is probably going to get a revival or comeback unit to come with them. Or even an indestructible. I think they're going to get something. And this Vegeta is going to be a piece in the puzzle.
That sounds very
Could that
optimistic.
happen? Yes,
Now,
it
now
could
I'll say
happen.
this
I
because
don't
at the
have
same
faith
time,
in the devs to do that.
because I'll say the same thing. People said PyCon was going to age horribly. Look what happened to him. PyCon aged well for a unit that came out right before Fest.
Mm-hmm.
And people said, "Oh, Kid Goku is great. He's gonna age amazing."
And then they
He didn't
directly
even
nerfed him a week later.
directly like, come on, like we see that like things can happen. Like I understand Absol's thinking, like it could happen 100%. But at the same time, we've seen shit contradict what we expect in our expectations because the devs are like, you know what? Let's roll a six-sided dice and get a seventh option. That's how they like works in their fucking brains. Like something that we couldn't see happening just happened. For
Yeah,
all we know, for all we know, every unit during Fest could knock everybody out of top 10. We could go to Fest and not a single unit from now to the beginning of this year is even in the top 10 or honorable
That
mentions.
could
that
absolutely
that
happen.
will
I
happen.
don't think that's gonna happen because they're not gonna come out with 10 units during Fest. Let's be realistic.
I mean,
Okay,
you
how
sure?
many units did we get there in Annie? We got, first of all, we got
In terms
Like
of summonable units,
two, we got four in part one, we got four in part two, then we got
we had
Omega
10.
and UG4. We had 10. We had 10.
Oh no, 11 because you got to remember Rage.
11 too. We had 11.
So we got 11 in the 6th year anniversary, and you always know they like to one up. They're gonna
And
okay,
I think
they're
that's
okay.
gonna
the
one it up.
I think that's the most summonable ones we've ever gotten. And I think every unit on that thing, every unit that came out during Annie has touched top 10 at least one point.
Except
Arguably
Gaku.
Gaku, but that's a whole other situation.
Yep.
I don't remember Blue Beerus being top 10.
Oh yeah, Blueberry's not
Oh,
being top
12
10, 100%.
units. Hold on, that's
Oh yeah,
12.
that's all. So you see what I mean? Like a majority of those units touch top 10.
Yeah, I could. The thing is, like, Majin Vegeta's a yellow, and we know they're gonna come out with an oppressive red. So it's like we can see the forecast. We can see the hurricane coming. It's like we're in Florida.
As soon as they come out with a good strike red unit, which I know it's rare considering Broly, it's rare to get an actually good like red strike unit, like at least once. But as soon as we get that, Vegeta's dead.
So I don't know, Vegeta Clan mains. You guys live it up while you still can.
Yeah,
Maybe
you're on a fucking timer.
ticking time bomb strapped to your chest. But what about you, Desla? What do you think of this Majin Vegeta unit? Do you think he's as good as the community thinks he is, or is he just not there yet?
So I guess kind of a brief spoiler for what I put out for my list. Pretty much I have him at 2 on mine. And my thinking behind it is that it's similar to what Obsta was saying pretty much as far as aging concerns, but also just the fact that, again, like, Turles just has such a commanding presence. I don't know how else to really put it, to where his mechanic, there is no workaround for it, at least with Vegeta, although it is a very specific counter, and if he's not in the match with this counter, he's not doing a whole lot else. But if
Mm-hmm.
he is, Shin is actually like the answer. I'm going to be honest with you. It really does wonders to halt any Vegeta's movement or potential like to actually gain momentum in a match because of what Shin's doing. And because of the fact that Vegeta actually has some form of a direct answer, while Turles really doesn't because of the fact that just these greens right now not being up to par, that's a big factor in why I don't really think that, he's all that in a bag of chips, at least to be warranting number 1 placement. I think that there is a decent gap between him and Turles, I'll be honest.
Mm.
So,
I'll, oh, I'd say differently, but it's for a different reason. I
no, but
think like
anyway,
I think the
I don't
issue
know.
though with Turles though is he just like actually you know what? I'm gonna let you say it because I won't sound too crazy if I say this.
Nah, you're good, man. I mean, my thing for me is just that, I mean, first off, let's just keep it a buck 20 as far as, my personal biases and all that. Obsta was a lot nicer in terms of how he felt about the character and his fans. Fuck the character and fuck his fans.
Oh my
As
Hey,
god.
far as who we got,
Chill.
get him out of here, get him out of here.
I would have vastly preferred Super Saiyan 3 Goku, to be honest with you, but that's besides the point. Like I was on
Yeah,
some real hater
get
shit
this
that
man
morning.
out of here, bro.
I will not lie. The moment that reveal came up at 10 a.m. sharp, dude, I was like, all right, let's see what the fuck this is. The moment I saw Deborah and like Bobby yapping in quotes or some shit, I'm like, oh great.
But it
The
was a
moment
long
I
time
saw like
coming. We
hit,
needed
dude, I could
this.
give 2 flying fucks.
Oh my
The
Yeah,
god.
moment
get this
his
man out of
dumbass
here,
8 guard
bro.
came up, I
Get him
literally
out of here,
swiped out of the
bro.
app. I swiped out of the app. I was like, no, I'm good.
Damn.
Appreciate it, man.
Like, can they just take
Anyway,
one
though,
Get
W?
this
They
man
don't
out.
even have a
no,
full
they can't.
team.
That's cool. I really don't care.
Get this man out of
Anyway.
here, bro.
Nah,
Get
I'm
this
good.
man out of here.
I'm good. The Prince of L's can continue to hold this L. Anyway, I don't know. It's just a matter for me where, like, I'm not gonna get into nitty gritty for why I don't fuck with the character. I mean, that'd be a whole other thing entirely. But this just time and again is gonna be a running theme for any hope of getting back to former glory days with the last time Vegeta Clan was top dog, which I think was year 2 with the second anniversary with, I think, Green Vegeta, Rage Trunks, and someone else. I
Sounds
forget
like
who the third
Future.
was. Something like that. But yeah, no, again, that was the one time in this game's entire lifespan that team was like nuts. That time has come and gone, and since then, it has not ever risen to that level of relevance since then. Good. And I really do hope that continues to stay that way, because it'd be extra funny if part 1 is some kind of uber juiced up Goku who's red.
Okay, so then let me ask you a couple
Oh
questions
man,
here, because you have to like see the good in this unit, right? Do you like his
I have it
ultimate?
too.
Okay. So you do understand that, or you do agree that his kit is definitely above a lot of the other units out there. It's just his longevity of staying at that number 2 spot is going to be short lived.
I mean, yeah, I don't mean to like kind of be a parrot of what Obsta is saying, but I mean, I really don't have high hopes for him making it through Fest. I'll be honest with you.
Dang.
Whereas Turles and Triku, a bunch of other characters as well on my list that I have, I think will age a lot better, because I do expect that we'll probably have yet another shift over in terms of like kind of meta style, where we go from how it was before with Gogeta with the one shot meta to how
Mm-hmm.
it was with Turles now with the, drawn out games and everything lasting 8 million fucking years. Now we're gonna probably have Fest where it shifts back to one shot, and at that point, what's gonna end up happening is that there really is no comp that Vegeta is safe on at that point, because he's relying a lot on having a long term meta to really like be obnoxious and do his thing. Because if a unit is like like punching your teeth in too fast for you to even get your little counter cute like gimmick off, then like who gives a shit? you know,
Yeah.
it's just a matter where again, I really don't find to be out of the question to get a red melee unit for Fest at some point. I don't care what part it is, it's gonna happen. And when it does, I'm telling you, people who summon for this Vegeta are going to experience the exact same thing they did when they summoned for Gohan when Ultra Golden Frieza dropped. Regret. Which again, that is another point for why I think it's actually likely to happen, because the fact again that Ultra dropped a month before Golden did. That is an
Mm-hmm.
insane turnaround time to hard counter a Ultra. Insane time. So again, it's absolutely not out of the cards, especially when this time it's stacked even more against Vegeta's favor, because it's right before a major celebration. And we all know damn well how much they like to change the game with major celebrations.
They probably did this shit on
So
purpose too. They're like,
I can
let's.
guarantee it. They set them up for failure, as they should.
Oh my
Anyway,
God.
All right.
Stop.
Hold on. I've had enough of this later. First of all, if you assume that if you say we're in a slow meta, correct? Right? You said we're in a
currently,
slow meta. If we are in a slow meta and we somehow go back to a one shot meta, a lot of those units you named are gonna get hit just as bad as MV is, or even worse. If we go to a fast meta, Riku's cooked. If we
if
get
that's
to
the
a
price to
if
pay for
we
Vegeta getting like
but
hit
here's
like a
the
nuke,
thing.
then that's fine.
But here's the thing. If that happens, Triku is fucked. Ulton is fucked. UG4 is fucked. Turles is fucked. Because right now, already, Majin Vegeta has enough healing debuffs for him to ignore Turles' healing. He can get like Majin Vegeta is one of the few units, even like he's not even type advantage, and he can get through a Turles. Like that's not necessarily a problem for him because of how he healing debuffs, because he debuffs healing and his damage is like if he gets if the meta gets to a point that we can actually call it a one shot meta, which means it is everybody is hitting hard enough to hurt and cook the units now. Like 9 out of 10 units right now in the top 10 are fucked. Like we can't just look at how to be and say, oh yeah, he's gonna be fucked. Everybody's gonna be fucked. They're not gonna drop one unit that solely affects him.
Mm.
Everybody's gonna be cooked. Like, come on now.
I mean,
And I'm fine with that.
we're gonna. It's gonna be Thanos
You can
snap.
be fine with that, but you can't say that like, oh, I think he's gonna age bad because whatever's gonna come is gonna fuck him.
I didn't
It's gonna
say it was just him getting
be.
affected. We're
But that's
talking
the
about him
thing.
right now.
Yes, you can talk about him right now. Right now, he's 1 to 2. But to say like, well, I feel bad, 'cause I don't think he's gonna age well because he's gonna get fucked with by Fest. Fest always fucks everybody up.
But here, I think
There's
this is what I will say though, real quick. I think what the problem is that he's an ultra unit, people are going to spend so much money just to get him at a decent star, just to use him for a month when the meta resets.
Yes. Like at the end of the day, like this game, as much as I hate how this game is, like on a surface level, this game is for metal horse. On a deeper level, if you play this game long run, this game is meant for people who main tags. You should not be summoning for Majin Vegeta. I'm trying to say is a metal horror tag. It's only here for this year, and it's out. Unless you are a Vegeta or Saiyan main, which I don't even think those exist anymore.
Mm.
You can summon from Majin Vegeta, and this is your summon, your investment. Do I like look at me when I summon on Broly? Do I think Broly was gonna age well? No. Did I summon? Yes. Same thing with Gaku. I still summoned. Because at the end of the day, you should not be summoning like you can't you I don't think you can really use the argument of, oh, you're gonna feel bad that you summoned on this. Like people main tags. It's like having your favorite sports team. Either you're loyal or you're not. Either you stay a lifelong Knicks fan or you're somehow flip flopping between Miami, Celtics, and Lakers. It's like, come on now.
See, the second option that you just described is pretty much more than 60% of the Legends community. They play they play what's hot, and right now this
They play
Majin
what's
is
hot,
hot.
and then they get mad saying, "Damn, I ain't never getting, I don't have no CC. Why is it that like my team's getting cooked?" It's like you're not building anything up. Like you're going from one direction to another. You got no foundation.
Yeah,
Like you can branch out eventually, but the way anybody with common sense that plays this game knows you start off with one team, you build a good foundation, then you can branch out to other teams. Because if you try to go to a bunch of teams and you say like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to all these teams," and then you don't have a good foundation for any of them, that they're mediocre, you're gonna get cooked in high rank.
see, I like where your head is at, but let's be real. Like, half of the people who summon from Majin Vegeta don't look at the game that way. As soon as they saw the trailer and they saw him do that smirk, their bank account started opening up like a girl turned on. Like, that's exactly how they
Bro.
were in there. Okay.
You know, we can
Bro,
say that too.
bro, calm down.
First of all, that's a crazy analogy. I cannot lie to you. But at the same time, like, bro, like we can say the same. Like, we saw people still summoning on USG, bro. I'm still seeing people summon on like USV, on Rose, Ultra Rose. Like,
I
like
mean,
there's always gonna be there's always gonna be those casual players that play the game. I'm talking more so for the ones who happen to be listening to this podcast. Because 9 times out of 10, yeah, fully casual. Like, oh, I log into the game like once like every 2 weeks.
yeah, but I think that's what Desla's like point is for the meta whores, that they believe that this is going to be an investment. This is going to be more like you get that new car, and as soon as you take it off the lot, it loses its value damn near instantly. And Fest
Well,
is about to be
yeah.
off that lot.
I mean, yeah, but I have no sympathy for Metal Horse.
That's 60%
The
of the
way
game.
Desla, I don't care. The way Desla feels about Vegeta Clan is the way I feel about Metal Horse.
I can respect that.
Oh, I mean, don't get twisted. I fuck with Trunks. I don't fuck with Vegeta.
so Vegeta Clan,
Aye.
just half of the Vegeta Clan, just Trunks. Okay,
His
gotcha.
offspring's cool. Not him, though.
Damn.
You see you see the nonsense I got to deal with, bro.
So back to this Majin Vegeta kit though. Let's talk about some of the things he is doing well. So sub count manipulation against the opponent, he does extremely well with just increasing sub count when he comes in, and also being able to lock on the blue cards, etc. So those are good. And then to go with the healing, Opso did make a fantastic point that he does not destroy strike cards once his unique gauge gets procced or is full, but he does destroy strike cards once he hits below 50%. I feel like that's kind of low and scary. And then also with these newer units that have like negate card destruction, they can just eat through that shit and completely, take him away. Like, again, we're one red unit away from that happening, which honestly, that movie Broly, the red one that people wrote off, he could do that now. Like, that might be Majin Vegeta's biggest
Does he
counter.
nullify card destruction?
I believe so.
No,
Wait,
he
does
nullifies
it?
key reduction. Just
Key
key
redu-
reduction.
Just key reduction? No card destruction?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then scratch that then. That could... He's saved. Who... Does Gaku negate card destruction when his gauge is full?
Nope, key reduction. The only units right now that are relevant in the meta having immunity to card destruction are Turles for the few time accounts post comeback, and that's it. Oh, and UG4 on main. That's
You're
it.
forgetting
That's
one.
really. Ooh.
16.
Yo, get this nigga out of here, bro.
No, bro. I am so.
He's that serious, though?
I'm completely serious. I'm not even trying to I'm not even trying to be silly here. 16 actually has insane stocks in this meta.
I'll say this. I'll say this. I agree because if you are an Android's main and you want like a little sleeper pick to work around in this meta, you can use 16 because there's
He's not
nullifying
even a
endurance.
sleeper pick. He's not even a sleeper pick. He's
I'm not
fantastic right now.
the best I'm giving you is a sleeper pick. I will not stroke your ego. I will not stroke your ego in this. I'm sorry.
Pause.
I
I'm being
cannot do
honest.
this. He does have uncancelable nullifying endurance. So if he pops his ult and then he rushes, like he MV can't MV and other units can't stop that. Because if that rush goes through, somebody's dying.
Hmm.
He also does crazy damage right now.
I
I
can see
think the
that.
thing with I think the big thing with Majin Vegeta to me is that you look at his kit by itself, it's like, yeah, there's obviously certain things that you're like, they did okay with, but they could have gone harder. But at the same time, to me, it's like you gotta realize how this meta is kind of going. The way they're going with disruption nowadays is that everybody on the team has some sort of disruption.
You have
And it's
to.
more so that they're meant to work together. Look at like I'll say for example, you are in Triku and Turles together. Turles destroys a card for the enemy on entry. Triku destroys two cards if the opponent has if you once you get your full gauge. Like they have ways of disrupting. They have ways of going around stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Triku also has the anti-ult stuff. Like they have ways of disrupting and bothering your opponent's combo. Same thing with also Turles having the key reduction. Like there's things that they can do. Majin Vegeta has his things, and he's also on the team that has the best disruption in the game, which is Majin Buu Saga. If they gave him even more crack disruption, Majin Buu Saga would be even more insufferable.
Mm-hmm. As if they needed
Like
more.
exactly. Like I think a lot of like one of the best things I think he does is just the fact of like one being an anti like staying unit. Two, the amount of lock-ins he does, I think, is actually very good.
Yeah.
Like I think the lock-in part especially just makes it that like either starts a combo or if the unit that you have in doesn't have sub count manipulation, he's getting a rush off.
Yeah.
Like Majin Vegeta to me, his kit reads to me what Final Flash should have been, like offensively at least.
I mean, they both have a unique gauge that charges rapidly while they're on the field. Well, this one
Yeah,
charges faster, I feel like, than the other
Well,
Super
yeah,
Vegeta.
because
Majin
when you're
Vegeta.
comboing with Super Vegeta, it feels like an absolute eternity to fill up that gauge.
Yeah,
Mm.
Because
like
that's your number one priority with that unit, to just get the gauge. Because once he
like
gets
when
that
he
gauge, he's actually usable.
more than usable, I think he's a great unit. But then you need to get to that gauge,
Yeah,
which is an
exactly.
issue.
It's an eternity.
Yeah. Like
Terrible.
it's such a thing when you look at certain Vegeta units that like watching Vegeta, I don't think any thought went into him, but that's a whole nother discussion, bro. But like I think they actually went into thoughts with Majin, which why like it shows to you that like all right, these devs like they really do have a hate boner for Vegeta Clan, which Goresh has even said himself. They do have a hate boner, which like the fact that they actually put thought into Majin Vegeta meant that like, oh, we want a cracked unit, but it's a Vegeta.
Mm-hmm.
Like they
They
took
can't
time
go
and
too
effort.
hard.
Exactly. They can't go too hard. Like if I'm saying right now, if this was a Gohan unit, exact same kit, they would have also given him Blast Break too.
Yeah.
100%. They would have, mind you, and they wouldn't have even made it like a held arts card. They would have made it one of his arts effects.
Oh no. So
That's
the
exactly what they would have done if this was a Gohan, bro.
well, I understand that they favor Gohan, but that just be way too oppressive. That's a little too much. But
You forget this is Gohan. Nothing is off the table.
you're right.
Exactly.
Gohan Ball Legends. But outside of that, I think we're all in agreement that the kit for this Vegeta Clan unit is extremely good, and the fact that there was a meta shift to a UG4 bring him as low as it is, comboing with the Triku. He definitely warrants a spot on the high part of the tier list. So speaking of the tier list, let's move our segue and go over Desla's tier list. And then again, as we do with our lists, we'll compile a group Rising Rush podcast tier list, and we'll put that on social media for you guys to check out and comment to see if you agree or disagree. But without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to you, Desla.
All right, so for my tier list, I went ahead and have a top 10 ready to go. So I'm going to kind of just briefly gloss over my explanations for every placement, and then if any of y'all have any kind of qualms, gripes, or critiques, then feel free to chime in. But if not, then fantastic.
And subtweet.
Yeah,
Oh
don't
no.
forget that. Yeah. So my 10th spot, I actually have Shin, and I did highlight this a little bit ago earlier, but I do think that right now he is the best answer to Vegeta, just due to the fact of how his main gimmick works for sealing cards when he uses a Blaster Strike. It makes it to where when that blast gauge gets off in terms of countering for Vegeta, he literally just stands and looks like a fucking doofus. He
Mm.
can't do anything. So that to me is more than enough to warrant him being at least in the 10th spot because of just how well he works in that specific role. Nine, I have Super Vegito, and I've been seeing a lot of contention online with different people who put lists out today. People who have Vegito actually a lot higher than I do. And the reason why I just don't personally see it is that while, yes, I understand the argument of, wanting to have him on there because of the long game meta with, having any kind of way to guarantee more damage being, usually beneficial. But barring that one thing, there really isn't much else he's doing. And even then, it's more so a matter of where right now, matches that go to timer don't really happen as often as many people may think. And it really only happens if you're running the meta, like mirror matches pretty much. If you're doing that, then yes, that will more often than not lead to that situation happening. But otherwise, I mean, it's not really it's not as much of a common concern or thing that happens as many people seem to lead themselves to believe. But anyway, eight, I actually have Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and he's lucky to be there. Gonna be honest with you. It didn't feel right to have him below Vegeta and Shin, just because of the fact that those two have one main thing, and that's about it. There's really nothing else to him. Gogeta, on the other hand, even with these two yellows running the game right now, he still just can have but the potential to really bring things around because of the amount of things he has going for him right now
Mm-hmm.
in terms of just what he has available to him in his kit. And that should be a testament to you as to how much of a powerhouse he can be. And if you give him any kind of leeway where, let's say that it's not that hyper specific what I think is the best comp in the game right now, which is just my top three, which I'll get into in a second. But if you're not running to that specifically every match, and if it's just one yellow, I think he has enough breathing room to actually put in some work. It's just when he runs into those double yellow comps that you start having some problems. But despite that, though, I do think that he's able to perform pretty well despite the circumstances, which again is a testament to how frankly over fucking tuned he was. But anyway, seven, I have the Boo duo, and this is actually due to kind of a recent appreciation bias because the fact that they do their job and they do it pretty well. Where it's honestly like Vegeto's shtick, but better because they made it to where after giving them, these buffs countless times again and again, they finally hit the mark on the head with the Zenkai in combination with their plat, obviously, to where their Transcendent Kamehameha actually is a threat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually more beneficial to get that off as soon as you can so that that AoE damage is just there. And even then, if you don't do that, I mean, it's the same thing with Turles with his comeback mechanic, where if you get that off on someone and they're last man standing, or they have only two characters left, you're in a massive advantageous spot if that Kamehameha gets off because of how much damage it does to everyone else on standby as well. So I think for that reason, on top of the fact that they're able to counteract really any green that could possibly pose a threat to him, which really the only one that's really even worth discussing is Evil Boo, that they're able to obviously tag switch and be more versatile in that respect. It makes them a lot more of a reliable blue option than I think Super Vegito is, which again, he has one shtick and that's fucking it, pretty
Mm-hmm.
much. So that's where I have them at. Ilubu I have at 6, and the reason why I have him there is that right now him with Vegeta and Gotenks is probably the best Majin Buu Saga variant at the current moment, just because the fact that it just it leads to where he's able to go largely unchecked because again, there's so much pressure being put on these purples now because of the two current top three characters being comprised of yellows. And those yellows really have both Althan and Gogeta almost on a leash. So what it means is that I mean he can pretty much do what he pleases because Vegeta is able to handle both of these purples in the meta right now very well on his own.
Mm-hmm.
So it leads to him being able to do his job exceptionally well. And it's a testament to how well he was made because of the fact that, again, a 1% being able to still be in this much prominence after he came out is, again, a testament to how well he was designed kit wise on release. He is in contention for one of the best 1% we've ever gotten on release. And not even just that, he's better than a lot of LFs we've gotten this year. Like, that's saying a lot. So I think with, giving him his flowers, I think that him being his knocking on that top 5 spot but not being quite there yet, I think is a fair assessment to have him at. 5, I have Ultimate Go on, and the reason why he's there is because despite the fact that these yellows are running amok at the moment, I do think that the safety he needs being with either Shin or with Gotenks is enough to kind of cover him to be able to do his own thing. And still, I mean, it's not as though he's gotten drastically worse or something like that since he's come out. It's still Gohan, and he's still a force to be reckoned with for sure. Where he's able to put in all kinds of work on that kind of shit based off how they went ahead about him as far as how he was designed and stuff. So I think that despite the fact that he's able to, you know, run with the big boys, so to speak, with all these big yellows running around to actually check him, that
Mm-hmm.
despite that, him having ways to cover him helps a lot to have him actually get the chance to perform. And the current yellow that counters Gogeta the most does not counter him nearly as bad because obviously, I mean, it's not really a secret. Goku was very much meant to target Gogeta more than Ultimate Gohan. It's not really a debate. Um, I think that for that very reason, it makes it to where it's not really a debate anymore. It's just very objective at this point that Gohan is the best purple in the game at the moment because of the fact that that target counter is not as targeted towards him.
It's
So with
crazy.
that in mind, I do think that he should be in that spot, in my own personal opinion. 4, actually, I have a Go Tanks, and this may be surprising to some past listeners to actually might have checked out an episode or two before this, because before this, I actually was not super high on Go Tanks. I have him in the lower end of top 10, but I do think with the current top 3 being comprised of 2 very strong yellows, it is imperative that you have any kind of red to be able to at least
Mm-hmm.
ward them off a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So again,
I
dude,
I win in the end. I win in the end.
we needed another big boy yellow to get him to be in this top 5 discussion because if Majin Vegeta did not
Listen,
exist, it would not be there. But
listen.
anyway,
Grim Reaper of Justice wins in the end. That's all that matters.
wait 1 month. Anyway, I do think despite that though that he's in the same role as Trico almost, where he kind of works as like that middleman to kind of keep the team together almost, where he's that kind of mediary position pretty much. Again, he's not doing a lot of shit that's super crazy on his own, but because of the fact that he's there, he's making the whole flow of the team a little better. But I think for that very reason, combined with the fact that again the 2 current top 3 characters are fucking cracked yellows, that I think it warrants him being there. But again, like I just just said, give this a month, and I can guarantee you that we're going to be seeing some radical changes pre-draft season.
Radical, dude.
Yeah. 3 is Striku, and if you've been even remotely active in PvP, you'll understand why he's there, because him and Turles together is the dream duo. I mean, it works way too well. And it's a testament to understand just how much he was being ragged on when it came out to going from drags to riches almost, because in the time span of just a couple weeks, he went from being like, I don't even think he's like top 10, like, oh my god, he sucks ass, to, I mean, he's just undoubtedly like top 5, bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just because of how flawlessly he works with Turles, because of just what they're both trying to do is stall out the game longer with Disrupt, like, and all that kind of stuff, to where they're just, 2 forces of annoyance that work way too well together. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just a matter of where, again, he is single-handedly warding off Gogeta, and, Majin Vegeta is not helping Gogeta's case either. So I think with that reason, that given everything I said, I think it's warranted to have him in that 3rd spot. Vegeta in 2, I already kind of went into my reasoning for why I think he's not 1. But despite my grievances in regards to, future worries of aging or whatever, or just how I don't think that he's quite up to snuff with Turles per se, I do think that he's still, a good unit. And, all joking aside, I do think that it's weird how we didn't have a standalone Vegeta that was like inarguably good for, I think, what, like 4 years. So, I mean, it's a testament to say that for many people who are his diehard supporters, it's about damn time. But for me, I just can't wait to rub my hands together and wait for him to fall off. But anyway, um, I do think that given everything though, that right now he's in a pretty good spot, and him with Turles and Triku in particular is, I think, a serious contention for the best team in the game, because there is just so much going on there that makes it very hard to get through.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a matter of where, again, if you run that shit, no purple is safe. Like, I'm sorry, no purple is going to be posing even a remote threat to you, and that is just powerful. But then you have obviously number one that I have left over, which is Turles. Which, I mean, again, if you've been playing the game for the last month, you don't really need me to go into specifics as to why he's there. He is just fantastic. His comeback is going to age like a fine wine, and
Okay.
he just has so much going on in regards to what's in his kit, even like barring the comeback mechanic. But I mean, the comeback is just the cherry on top, pretty much. But overall, I do think that you can argue back and forth, or whatever, but I do think that Turles is very comfortably number one until Fest happens, which inevitably you'll be seeing a shift. But
Yeah.
until then, I think we will be pretty content with saying that until then he's in that number one spot. Like, that's my list.
I know Glow's got a lot to say. I'll let you go first.
Honestly, I agree with most of it.
Okay. All
Like
right.
99% of it. The only difference I have from my own list, which is not that far off of him, I have Shin at 10. I have Kid Buu at 10. I think that I understand the argument for Shin. I just believe that I think the difference between me and Desla's list mostly is I value the fact that Majin Buu Saga has two setups, technically three you can run.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all of them allow the units to be top 10 worthy. Shin being an answer, I think that's valid. I think that's a valid discussion. SV at 9, I have the same. UG4. Like literally for me and Desla, our 9 to like 6, our 9 to 8, 9 to 7 is the exact same. We both have SV, G4, and then Boo Bros, which a lot of people I don't think give Boo Bros enough respect. Like, do I think they're perfect? No. But I think the way their kit is and how it's revolved around the standby mode, like standby is one of the biggest, like it is one of the biggest tide changes to have during a match, whether it's early game or late game. Late game, it almost guarantees somebody's dead or you're getting an LF.
Mm-hmm.
Early game, it guarantees that the other team is getting low enough that everybody can pick you. Like it is really good. I think at like the Goku side, I don't think really needed any changes. But I think the big changes that they got overall to their kit benefit the Vegeta side mostly when he's in standby mode. The enemy wants to attack Vegeta and like get him down, and Vegeta's just the way they ramp. It's just you're signing a death sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he has Evil Boo and then Gohan. I have Gohan then Evil Boo. I think the setup of Gotenks, UMV, and Eobu is better than any Ulton setup. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
And then his 3 and 4, I mean, I have those interchangeable. You can put either one, so I don't hate it. I agree with the fact that like Gotenks and Triku work kind of the same thing. They're like middlemen. Like Gotenks is meant to be the early game guy that gets your damage done, that backs up Majin Vegeta. He's supposed to be the main one kind of handling the early game. Triku is a similar thing, who, mind you, they both support, but Triku is meant for like late game. Triku is not meant for early game. The only times he's supposed to be an early game unit is if you see a UG4 and you're trying to make him useless for the rest of the match.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. And then obviously we differ on like who's 1 and 2. I can understand Turles at 1. I just personally think MV is 1 right now because I think the game right now is revolving around how do you handle him.
I can see that. Like my list is pretty similar as well. I also have Turles at 1 because his comeback is just super oppressive. If your opponent is last man standing and Turles comeback goes off, just put the phone down. You lost. Like there's no way you're getting out of that. And he could he has all the options in the world. I do have Majin Vegeta at 2 because he's just that oppressive, and there's not really any big reds to really like put him in check. There is Shin. He's in my honorable mentions, which is because actually all the supports are my honorable mentions because they're you can warrant using them. But outside of that, I mean, my list is also pretty similar. I do not have Kid Buu on my list, but I do have Fusing Gogeta Blue at 9, and then I also have Gaku at 10. Outside of that, the list is practically the same. I'm still kind of uneasy with Gotenks just because after 100 counts, a lot of his kit that makes him as good as he is kind of goes away. So, and with how these matches go in PvP in the higher ranks, where a lot of it kind of goes to time because these teams are too goddamn tanky. Like, he's just not going to survive when Turles sees him or anybody else sees him. But so far, I'd say pretty spot on list. What about you, Obsto? Did you have a similar list between the two of them, or something completely different?
I pretty much agree with everything except for Gotenks' inclusion.
Oh,
Listen, at least he's a consistent hater, bro.
Again, Gotenks doesn't do anything. His only good thing right now is that he's red. But that doesn't warrant a top 10 slot.
He's definitely good on damage, and he's definitely a very annoying unit with his constant vanish recovery.
This is what I'll ask, though. Is he the first?
He does nothing.
Is he the first unit?
I've seen him. I've fought against him many times. I've never been intimidated at all by him. He does nothing. If you use him, you're wasting a slot on your team.
Nah, this is actually some. What did this nigga do to you?
But check this out.
Nothing.
He doesn't have blast armor on strike. Is he like the first LF unit?
That is huge.
That doesn't have that?
No, he's not the first. We have a bunch of LF units that don't have blast armors on strikes.
This year, though. This year.
USB?
That's a defense type, dog.
In terms of this
year,
that's in terms of this year,
Super 17.
Yeah, those are like the only two.
He's a blast unit. Dude, a melee-based unit is his point, bro.
I mean, even Omega has blast armor.
Did he say melee? Did he say melee-based or just LF?
No, LF in general.
Like an LF that's melee-based. That's what I thought the point was.
Oh.
Okay, because I was about to say LF, I can name a bunch.
But even then, this year we've gotten a ton of LFs who are not melee based and have gotten blast armor.
Yeah.
Listen,
like Triku, like Ultan because he's a Gohan.
Turles.
Like Triku's the GOAT. First of all, Triku's the GOAT. But
like Evil Boo.
I mean, to be fair, we've also seen like their reasoning for some of it. I'll admit, some of their reasoning for it is weird. Ultimate Gohan got it. Gotenks doesn't. Omega gets it. Super 17 doesn't. Like you like I understand what you mean. Like Baby gets it. USB doesn't.
It's huge if a unit has or doesn't have it.
Yeah, again, it is definitely.
On androids, it's so rare to actually get a unit that has that. There's only 2 android units that actually have that.
Yeah.
And when I got either of them, it felt like a third eye was opened. Both of them came out like this last year.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Say, I have fought a Gotenks that fainted me 3 times in one match. I will say that shit did piss me off.
That sounds like a skill issue, bud.
Sounds like you're going Gaki.
This sounds like you're gonna have a little walk down memory lane with the yellow Gotenks from yesteryear.
Bro, if I find out this Gotenks blue card is glitched, I'm gonna tweet, bro.
That'd be pretty funny, I won't lie.
I'll actually curse out the devs. I'll lose my mind. Because how do you let it happen? Like it's it's crazy that it happened once, but twice with the same character. Come on now.
It's intentional.
It's the same way that Ultra Instinct keeps leaking.
Bro, we're about to find out Ultra Instinct MUI for fucking Fest, bro.
Possibly.
I wouldn't be surprised if it leaks. Yeah.
Well, that's it for our tier list segment. So again, you guys will expect a group tier list probably within the next day or so to kind of encompass what we believe on the monthly tier list. And then we will see what comes next after Majin Vegeta Saga. I mean, not Majin Vegeta Saga, but Majin Buu Saga. Because at this point, we're at the cusp of it. Like, I don't see any additional units that they'll be dropping.
I mean, it should be over. I really can't imagine we get more, but we'll see.
Seriously.
Oh, don't you worry. We'll get more. We will get more.
Angel Vegeta coming?
For this campaign.
Oh, for this campaign?
Yeah, like Majin Vegeta Saga should be done now. We should be done.
Should be done. But the same way we said Andy should be done, and then we got hit with Omega. So.
Well, I guess we'll have to find out. But on to Dragon Ball related news. The new Daima episode just dropped today as well. So definitely check
No
that out.
spoilers.
No spoilers. I ain't gonna say nothing. But they're in episode 4. So, we'll see how things keep going with that anime. Other than that, not much news. I mean, Halloween just dropped. We're now getting into the holiday season of Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving, Christmas, New Year's. So we will see what comes up next. But that's it for today's episode. Make sure you follow our social links in the description below. As you know, we stream from time to time. Glow, make sure you follow his social media accounts on Twitch and on Twitter. And all of us will also be on there as well. And also, we'll have our special guest on our next week's episode. Can you guess who it is? Leave a comment below on who you guys would like to see on the Rising Rush podcast. But without further ado, I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your week.
Y'all be
See ya.
easy.